Well, it's Tuesday the 28th of July 2009, and this morning I thought that I'd actually give you an update about where we are with the Philco radiogram, and this will be the third video in the series of the restoration of this very nice piece of kit from 1954. And things have moved on a bit since I last spoke to you, because I've now managed to reassemble the speed adjuster and also get the idle wheel back into place. The other thing I've done is replace the bushes for the motor. So I thought it'd be an opportunity to show you how far we've got. So I'm just going to adjust the camera down a bit here. Okay, that's now in shot. Okay, so you can see here that we now have got the speed adjuster fully assembled, and if I adjust it from 16, 33, 45 and 78, you'll see actually that it rides up and down that post that I mentioned before, this piece here. And obviously I've given it some grease now, and it's also has been soaking overnight, and it's now managed to bed in. So this piece then articulates onto this lever here, and the idle wheel fits on top of this sprocket, and then obviously engages with the motor, the electric motor, the drive motor. And the other part, of course, will actually engage onto the side of the turntable once the whole thing's been reassembled. So that's been quite successful. You can see also here that I've replaced those bushes that were actually knackered, and I've got the old ones here, and here we go. These are the old ones, completely perished. And so I used some car grommets, the ones you use to fill in holes, you know, in the bodywork. Sometimes you put an aerial in and then you take it out or change it, or some cabling has gone through the floor of the chassis, and you want to block it up to stop water seeping back in again. That's the type of thing you use. So I've used these ones here. They're the 6 to 13mm size, and I've been quite successful in doing that, and that has actually stabilised the motor. And if you look at the back part here, you can see the motor's been stabilised. It's now fully in place. I've also removed the motor totally and taken it apart and taken the main armature off, which is the drive part of the whole kit, and cleaned it, and also then re-greased it. So it's now running very freely. You can see there, if I run my thumb over it, it runs quite nicely. Now, one of the problems that you get when you have idle wheels is they get very hard as they get old. The rubber starts to perish and deteriorate, and the best way to get that down to the nice fresh rubber underneath is to use a process of rubbing off the surface. Now you want to make sure that surface is well rubbed off, but also evenly rubbed off, because you don't want to get any flat places in your rubbing. So in other words, you want to make sure it's still circular. And the way I do that is to use a simple method of inserting a small nut and screw through the middle. And I'll just demonstrate that for you, like that, and then tighten that up nicely. Okay, I've already done this, so I'm just relaying it now. So they're like that. Okay, so make sure you tighten that up nicely with a good old screwdriver there. And then insert it into the end of a drill. Okay, so in other words, you get your cordless drill, which I've got here, and open the chuck, take your normal drill piece out, and then insert the idle wheel with its nice new screw tightened up, and then tighten that up nicely. And then what you do, you put your battery in, and then rotating it slowly, obviously you have to make sure it's level as well, because it's not quite level in the chuck there. Make sure it's straight, basically. Otherwise it will all be nicely uneven when you that way. First of all. There we go. And then if you're using a piece of emery or sandpaper, just run that slowly over the edges. And what I did in this case, I laid it on the bench here on top of the casing, and then slowly just ran it over with a piece of emery and sandpaper, and that works very well. Put the battery off again there. In that respect, that will get everything down nice and smooth. So the next thing you do then is to place it back onto the player. Take the screw off. There we go, like that. Like that. So that then will go back, this idle wheel will then go back onto the player there. Now it's got two washers. It's got an under washer, which obviously the distance is important, so under washer, which I've greased, and you put that one on top like so. Now on here there's a position for where it's actually not engaging. It's got N. I imagine it means neutral. It's not engaging with the engine at all, with the motor, and that's important because when you put the turntable back on, you don't want to foul it as you're doing it. So the next thing to do is to put the second washer back on, and then there's a little C-clip which secures the whole thing. So put the C-clip back on, and there we go. So when you engage onto 16, 33, 45 and then 78, and that's now working perfectly alright, and obviously, and then the turntable will fit on top of that. The other thing I've done, of course, is just re-greased the area where the turntable fits, and I remember I explained that to you before. This bit here actually fits onto the top there, and then the whole thing engages. So, and it's also important that you put plenty of grease round the part where it actually contacts with the washers and the small ball bearing ring as well. That's quite important there. So the other part is I'm going to completely re-grease the underside where the mechanism, the return, is now, and if you can see that, let's get that in shot again. So all of these areas I've cleaned off, and I'm going to be re-greasing all of this with some nice light oil for some of it, and probably some car oil, gearbox gear grease for the rest of it, which will keep the thing running very well. So, and there we go. The next bit after that, in the next video, what I propose to do is actually put it back temporarily into the player, into the radiogram here, and do a test run and have it running just to check all is well and that the idle wheel is engaging with the drive and that the speed is correct and all the arm movements and the returns are working. Okay, and thanks for watching.